हाय एवरीवन वेलकम टू माय चैनल। तो यही वीडियो में आपण सहित पॉलिटिकल थ्योरी प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी को डिस्कशन करछि नोट्स को शेयर करछि। एथिरे आमे प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी मीन्स प्रिंसिपल्स ता सहित प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी क्रिटिक्स और सब्सटेंटिव डेमोक्रेसी पर आमे डिस्कशन करबा। तो चलंतु स्टार्ट करबा। प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी मीन्स द existence and operation of democratic institutions and democratic process which enable the people to participate in the organization of government through as well as through indirect and limited participation in the actual working of the elected and representative government of their state. Procedural democracy is a democracy in which the people have relatively a larger role than the traditional direct liberal democracy. It is characterized by a system of election representatives through periodically held free and fair elections through which the people elect their candidates of their who get a majority of votes in their respective constituents, get elected as the representatives and get the authority to hold public office and exercise political power of lawmaking, public policy. And the future of procedural democracy is the existence and operation of a duly constituted election system and electoral processes by which authority is placed in the hands of elected representatives of the people. The process is regularly vasted for electing the basic institution and structures of democracy, a duly elected representation. Next time देखिबा आ कौन अच्छी ना government then makes law and policies and implements and runs the administration of the state democracy and behalf of the people. तो हम देखले प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी तो सिंपल वर्ड बुझा चेष्टा करिया। तो सिंपल कौन इन सिंपल वर्ड्स democracy is procedural democracy so long as procedures and institutional mechanism like representatives institutions responsibility and accountability of executive to elected assemblies. Basic civil liberties include the freedom of expression and freedom to free from association and independent and duly empowered judiciary are at work. Next time देखिए कौन it procedural democracy stands for a democratic process of electing a government of elected representatives of the people for democratic decision making for the entire society. It makes all decisions and law a majority of the power holders and elected representatives who are members of the state legislature. तो बर्तमान देखिए कौन ना प्रिंसिपल्स कौन कौन रही प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी द मेजर फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी. तो प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी मेजर प्रिंसिपल जा कौन कौन रही फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल है द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इलेक्शन ऑफ द रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स बाय द पीपल बाय ए वेल एस्टाब्लिश्ड फ्री फेयर सिस्टम ऑफ इलेक्शन इन विच द पीपल पार्टिसिपेट बाय फ्रीली कास्टिंग their votes in favor of candidates of the choice. It can be defined as the principal choice. It can be defined as the principle of participations of the people through the use of right to vote by all the adult citizens in the elections which are free, fair and regularly held elections. The representatives get elected on the principle of majority votes of that these get in the elections held in their respective constituents and electoral districts. Next time देखिए कौन ना सेकेंड प्रिंसिपल है the principle of political equality under which all the people have equal political rights and they participate in democratic by the use of these rights. It can be defined as the principle of political equality. Next देखिए कौन प्रिंसिपल रही the government elected representatives of people have the authority to act on behalf of the people, to make all decisions and policies on behalf of the people. It is done on the principle of majority rule. All the power, or sorry, all the all decisions are made by a majority or general constituents or unanimity of elected representatives. Next ଆଉ କ'ଣ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପାଲ୍ ରହିଛି, after their election and during their entire as elected representatives they remain responsible to public opinion as well as responsible for all their acts of commission and omissions as lawmakers and decisions makes. तो आम देखिए बर्तमान क्रिटिसिजम बा क्रिटिक ऑफ द प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी. तो कौन ना सेवरल क्रिटिक्स ऑफ प्रोसीड्यूरल डेमोक्रेसी क्रिटिसाइज फीचर्स एंड practices on the ground that elected and representative government can take on democratic decisions on the basis of principle of majority rule and decision making on the basis of majority vote. They therefore advocate the constant concept of substantive democracy. Procedural democracy can be and in practice is usually is a democracy of only producers, numbers and majority rule. It is a democracy of elected representative political institution which may or may not act efficiently and effectively for securing the objectives and goals of all round socio-economic, politico-cultural development of the people. Procedural democracy is formal and at times not a real democracy. Democracy witnessed in the Israel, Soviet Union and all the socialist democratic remains of Eastern European states were only formal democracies in which manifold elections and producers remained at work. Next time देखिबा प्रोसेसुरल डेमोक्रेसी बा सब्सटेंटिव डेमोक्रेसी. तो सब्सटेंटिव डेमोक्रेसी माने कोन ना सब्सटेंटिव डेमोक्रेसी is defined as a system in which functions in the interest of the truly representatives of the people. Such a democracy functions in the interest of the governance. Substantive democracy is democratic both in its organization as well as actual working. It is a system of functional democracy which democracy through democratic processes for securing all such socio-economic development objectives and goals which rest upon the real interest and support of public opinion and democratic decisions making by large and real majorities of the elected representatives of the people. Protagonists of substantive democracy defined it is a democracy characterized by the grant and guaranteed of all civil rights and freedoms of the people. Due place to socio-economic rights of the people in the category of their fundamental rights. Concept of substantive democracy placed emphasis upon both democratic procedures, decision making by real large majority or consensus, and functioning of the government for securing socio-economic, politico-economic, cultural development of all people of the country. Unlimited majority rule of producer democracy can result in some policies unfavorable for minorities. Democracy is a substantive when it is duly and actively consulted with the involved in securing certain objectives like justice and sustainable development. तो आम प्रोसेडुरल डेमोक्रेसी डिस्कसन कले मीन्स ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल ता सहित सब्सटेंटिव डेमोक्रेसी मध्य डिस्कसन कले. आर नेक्स्ट वीडियो में आपन लिबरलिज्म उपर वीडियो आनिबी. नेक्स्ट लिबरलिज्म रो प्रिंसिपल, लिबरलिज्म रो मेकानिज्म सब ऊपर मु वीडियो बनबी. तो यही वीडियो पे आपण चैनल जोड़ी जातु आ नोट्स को शेयर करंतु जहाँ द्वारा समस्त नोट्स पाई पारिबे. तो थैंक यू टू ऑल फॉर वाचिंग दिस वीडियो.